Okay, so we're recording now. So, hey Farron, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining me again. I really, really want to hear about your new project. We had met, I think it was 2 years ago at a real estate luncheon, and we kind of vibed and hit it off and found out we were both wanting to do the same thing. We both like community living and want to help people out and co-housing and RV spots. And so you have taken it to another level, and I want to hear about it and see how we can collaborate and help each other out.
Yes, yes. So, um, as you mentioned, we have a similar vision, and the overall theme of it is community and impact, providing a need to a demographic that is underserved, especially here in my community. So I know, yeah, people always say it starts with home, so that's where I'm starting, literally, because the property that I'm utilizing actually belonged to my deceased grandmother. And so I kind of grew up there, visiting grandma's house.
Hmm.
Actually, Granny, this is Granny's house. Visiting Granny's house. Um, and my granny passed away in 1996. And the property, of course, went to her children, and it was rented out for a while. And I always had a real estate bug. I always wanted to invest in real estate and didn't have any idea of how or where to start. And I started by watching HGTV and being inspired. And I would talk about it to my family. And I was not thinking of Granny's property. I was just thinking of how I could get into the real estate game. My mom was like, "Hey, you want to buy Mama's house?" I hadn't thought about it. I was like, sure. And I purchased it and went full throttle into it with the intention to fix and flip it. Had no idea what I was doing. So there was a lot of trial and error and so much learning, so much valuable learning that I could not have learned in a classroom or in any other space by doing it hands on. So literal blood, sweat, and tears went into this. And
Yeah.
once it was renovated, I decided to hold it. More probably mostly from sentimental value and the thought of it being my first project and all of that. And so took it to just, of course, with my knowledge at the time, um, I decided to just do it as a rental. But during the time of the renovation period, I had to secure funding to get the renovation going, and of course, I needed to pay that money back. And I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I actually reached out to one of my professors from undergrad. So this was he and I hadn't talked in a long time. I'm not going to date myself for how long ago that was, but I shot him an email and told him what I was doing and kind of wanted to hear his feedback. And he was like, "Hey, let's meet up." So we meet up, and I had a notebook and pen, and I told him what I did. He was like, "Oh, you can pull the equity that you built. You can pull that out of there. You can do this and this." And he's just talking, and I'm just writing because at this point it's all over my head. He's using these real estate terms and lingo that I didn't know about. And so I write all this stuff down, and I have like a couple pages of notes, and I go down this rabbit hole and do research, and I figured it out. And I was like, okay, this could be something. But sometimes, I did rent it out, but during that time, I went back to the service of it all. Like, it's nice. Yes, I'm providing housing to someone by renting the house out, but how can I um, maximize my asset? What more can I do with this property? And so I got the question in that and came upon the idea of doing a co-housing type space with the property, the house that's already on the property. And then I realized that most of the land on the property is not being used. So I was like, how can I use this? And I was in the community, going to real estate events, going to just different events in the community, and talked to city officials and different people and organizations in the community, and found that there is a huge need for housing. Um, and so specifically to seniors, because I wanted to reach the senior demographic, um, because I know, like, in our senior living communities locally, there are waiting lists. These people don't have anywhere to live. And also knowing who my granny was and the person she was, I know that she was so service oriented, service hearted, and service minded, and that she would love for her property to be used in that way. So Now that's where I am. I'm working to develop the space that I have, um, and utilizing the existing home, and also developing, starting with an RV park with 6 pad sites, and then it can transition into a mixture of a tiny home community, um, to house the demographic that needs it in the community.
So your property is on 1 acre, correct?
It's on an acre, yes.
And you've already talked to the city officials about feasibility of it and got their
Right.
support.
Yes. So there, we're working with a county. So this is Grimes County. I started kind of at the county level, working with the Chamber of Commerce and those affiliated with it, and got an idea of what's needed in the county overall. And then I ended up at an event with the cities. This is Anderson, the city's mayor, and got the message directly from the mayor. He was like, this mayor, this current mayor, I found is more, has an approach to building the city, because before this, the Anderson was really just kind of looked at as a county seat, and looked at just as a historic town, and just kind of, whoever wanted to visit or whoever it attracted based on that, that's what it had. But this mayor is trying to bring in more and kind of stimulate the economy there. There are new businesses being brought in, more restaurants, more shops, and they're building and revitalizing the downtown area. And so there is more going on, and that's his plan to build out even more. And I was at a real estate developers conference actually, where he was talking about it, and he was saying that he wants to bring in more, like he mentioned, bed and breakfasts specifically, and more places for people to stay if they're visiting, and more housing overall. So I was like, okay, my idea has, touches on all of those points. So I approached him after the conference and asked him specifically, what do you think of this? He was like, yeah, that would be great. We need it. And I asked him about zoning and requirements, and he told me that since my property is outside of the city limits, that there are no zoning restrictions, and basically have at it.
Nice, nice. So are you going to have to build additional water well or different infrastructure on this acre to accommodate all of the properties that you're going to put there?
So, because the property has been used for residential usage, there is already existing electricity and water hookups there. And so, for the electric, for the development, all it would just require is just additional extensions to it. And for the water, there would need to be additional septic system put in, but and it can also connect to the existing water that's already there. So it's not starting from scratch, which is good for the budget.
Yeah. You already have someone living in the home?
It's not currently rented, because the last tenant I had was, I had rented it, like, as a single family dwelling. But as I mentioned, I would like it to be a co-housing space. And so I would like to use a model of renting it by the room. And I just haven't done that yet, because part of what I proposed in the development is some renovations to the home, and some of those renovations are specifically for a senior demographic, so that it will include making the house handicap accessible.
Yeah, opening up the doorways, wider doorways, and taking the tub out and having a
Right, and
rain and
ramps,
shower.
that type of thing.
So, speaking of budget, how are you funding it and what kind of help are you looking for?
Okay, so I am at the point of securing investors. I'm marketing this project to investors, and there are several options for returns on their investment. They include the option to either do a like equity partnership, where you get a preferred return of 10%, 8 to 10% annually, and you can get additional profit sharing after the preferred returns are met. And equity holders would also benefit from property appreciation and any refinance proceeds. And then there's an option of just the investor being a private lender and lending the amount needed, and could earn a fixed return of 10 to 12% APR. And that's great because it's secured by the property and its improvements. And this can be with monthly or quarterly payments. There's also an option to do a joint venture setup. So, like if someone wants to do a larger contribution or be more active with their partnership, We can do a JV agreement where there's shared ownership, decision rights, and then a more defined profit split that's based on the equity.
Which one would you prefer?
Which one would I prefer? Um, I believe starting off because um, I see this the development being one of many. Um, I would prefer the private lending situation, so where there's an option to refinance after 12 months, because I know within 12 months the the development will be stabilized and we have a solid grasp on what the profit is, and go through a whole season of the rental phase, especially the seasonal and short term rental, because that's part of it would be short term and long term, a mixture of those. Um, and then we can move on to the can refinance and move on to the next project.
So you'd rather have it where you control everything versus having a partner that's gonna put in their 2 cents.
It just seems like the easiest, so to speak. But I am open. I'm open of the depending on the right partner. I'm definitely open to partnerships. Yeah.
Okay. And you have your tiny home supplier and your RV supplier and all of the people needed for this project, you have those in place already?
I do. That has been part of, so, getting this vision together. Of course, I had to put pen to paper and decide on what it is I really wanted to do. And I was initially thinking one or the other, either a tiny home community or RV part. But I was like, why not have both?
Why not
There's
both, right?
so because I feel like the RV park is something that can immediately, you can immediately break ground and have that up as easy like in the next 2 weeks if the funding was there. Because really all it would be is the connections and the actual groundwork for the pad sites that would need to be done. And so I do have my people together. I was part of the research phase, doing the market research to determine the need and the feasibility. And I also have made connections with contractors and suppliers doing all this research and networking and overall business development. And so, the RV site, which is being knowing the plumbers and electricians and the what are they called? Well, I guess land workers. I can't think of the name now, but the people who would actually work the ground. And with the tiny home part, I have connected with a supplier who is actually doing a model of using storage containers for the tiny home dwellings.
Oh, nice, nice. You have plans to put solar on any of the either the homes or
I am all about environmental, wellness, so that is definitely an option.
okay, okay, sounds good. So how can I help?
Um, Well, of course, with you being the real estate guru, I definitely appreciate all of your feedback, your guidance, your any collaboration. If you want in on this project, let's do it. If you know others who may be interested, let them know about it. So I'm really ready to get started. So that's whatever support you can let me in getting it going, because it is a heart led project, because yes, it's money to be made, but as I said, it goes back to upholding the legacy of my grandmother, and I know this would be something that she would be very proud of. And if she had thought of it herself and had the resources available, she would have done it years ago. So
I
um,
know, no. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I definitely want to help you out. I definitely know some people that are in this space and would love to partner with you and possibly invest with you. And send me the pitch deck. I think I
okay,
asked you for that. Send me
I
the,
have that photo. I can send that to you.
yep, send me the pitch deck, and I definitely will spread the word.
Well, thank you. I surely appreciate it.
I know it's going to work out for you. I'm so proud of you for going forward with this. We talked about it, and you're finally doing it. I love that.
Thank you.
So our project, we're still trying to get the land so we can go on with ours, but you got to
But
do
you made
the
a
land
step closer to
first.
that, right?
It's breaking up a little bit.
You're a step closer to securing the land, correct?
We've been close many times. We've been close. We're close again, but we
Right.
get there. they move the goal a little bit further every time. So we're getting
Keep
there.
going. That's the key. Keep going.
Yeah, I am. All right. Well, thank you, Farron. I appreciate you. And I'll be looking forward to getting that information and I'll share your information. If you want to give your number or how people can meet you, when I put this on YouTube, they will be able to contact you directly.
Okay, I will provide that information, and thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Hello, I am Vanda Crossley, and I will be talking today with Faren Franklin, is developing an RV community as well as a tiny home community up in Anderson, Texas. So we're going to meet her and hear about her project. Thank you. Take it away.